This mutation is called Timely Reinforcements, and it is being played on Minor Evacuation. We have two mutators active. We have Void Rifts, and we have Temporal Field. Oh, Void Rifts. I despise this mutator so much. It is one of the most difficult mutators to deal with. I think outside Heroes from the Storm, I think this one is pretty much the hardest mutator that you can play. Void Rifts provide so much early game pressure against the commanders that it usually stifles their economy, and if you're not really careful, this mutator can basically just snowball and you just end up getting wrecked in the later stages of the game. Now, with the other mutator that we have here is the Temporal Field mutator. Temporal Field, in general, is not really much of a very difficult mutator to deal with, but because you are fighting in very constrained and very confined spaces on this mission, this one can also pose a problem for commanders, so you have to be a little bit careful with how you deal with this. You can see here that Syntharius is saying dang, and the reason why is because they wanted to go over here to farm the essence for Dehaka, and usually if this ship is active, you will have a bunch of aberrations over there. That provides you with a really good value for getting some of the essence that you need. You can see here that Dehaka has already started to farm some of the essence by eating some of these infestors, and you can eat the infestors, you can eat the brute queens now also that they are psionic, and you get a lot of good value and just start leveling up Dehaka reasonably quickly. The first two set of Void Rifts have spawned here, and we can see here that what Swann is doing is he's going for a static defense build. You already have a Blaster Billy and a Flaming Betty over here, and now this will end up clearing out. The first Void Rift has been cleared out, and now the second Void Rift is also going to be attacked by the laser drill. Now, one of the advantages of Swann is that he has access to his Hercules with the tactical jump, and the tactical jump does not require vision nor even explored terrain to be able to tactically jump to a location. So even if the Void Rift spawns somewhere on the minimap where you have not even explored, you can just tactical jump a Hercules across, and you can pick off the Void Rift either through the drill, or the other option, which usually happens in the later stage of the game, is just load up a bunch of siege tanks and you can just unload them in that area and clear the Void Rift instead of waiting for the drill to DPS the Void Rift down. So that is one thing to note. Now, the good thing about this mission in general as well, we have the next set of Void Rifts also that will be spawning. The one thing that is also good about this mission is that this mission is not very difficult to all clear. Like, the mission may appear to be really large, but the amount of enemy defenses in each area, it's not really that much. So you can actually clear this mission reasonably quickly, without too much effort, without too much hassles, which also makes it easier to go and pick off the Void Rifts. Now, this is obviously going to be a little bit more hectic when you are getting harassed by random stalkers attacking and poking your buildings, but in general, if you are paying attention to the mission and you also end up clearing, that should be okay. We have a WTF from Syntharius. I'm assuming that is because the Dehaka got picked off somehow. I was not really paying attention to how Dehaka died. I just assumed Dehaka would be okay over there. Or probably that might have been a button fudge. But now we have a bunch of Flaming Betties on here, and they should be able to hold up this ramp here. And Dehaka is also on the front side. So this ship is essentially safe. The only thing that can go wrong is that the Void Rift starts spawning and start harassing their bases over here. So we can see Dehaka has no static defenses so far. And I think Swann only has one Flaming Betty on the expansion here. And now we're trying to get a little bit more vision for Swann. I do not know what Swann's plan is over here. Now we have a bunch of Void Rifts. So one Void Rift has been picked off, and now the second Void Rift will get killed off by the static defenses that have been procured for Swann. I'm not sure why Swann is not moving this factory over here. I'm not really sure what that is. But I think Dehaka over here now is safe. And we can see here the attack wave is a Terran composition, and it is the air Terran composition again. Not really too great over here. Unfortunately, the Brute Queen does get picked off, which means Dehaka can't get a little bit of value if he decides to push in now. But Glevik is now spawned, and now he will start clearing out this area as well. And I think... Okay, so that was a concentrate. That was a usage of the concentrated beam to end up clearing out the site. Factory does end up surviving as well, which is really good. I think upgrades for Swann. Swann does not really have a fire suppression upgrades just yet. And I'm not really sure what the plan is for Swann. I think the description was he wants to use a full static defense build. So yeah, that's pretty much it. He's going for the static defense build right now. That is the kind of masteries that he has set up here. And Dehaka, basically using the primal worm cooldown mastery instead of the pack leader. duration, and that is basically because I'm assuming Dehaka wants to spam these worms across the map when the void rifts spawn to just help cleaning out the void rifts, which is again not a bad idea. So this first ship has launched, and Dehaka with Swann have been able to clear out the site. And there is just a little bit of harassment from some of the void rifts that have spawned on here. So that void rift is causing a few problems. It's spawning a trickle spawn, and Dehaka now is going to make his way to that void rift to try and clear out the site. He has to push through a lot of these infested units. But again, once he's cleared out these units will not respawn. Now the void rift is in vision, and now we have the worm over here. Unfortunately, the worm does get unburrowed in range of the siege tank. So that is going to take a few hits onto its head with a bunch of siege tank shells. That should be okay. And now we have a 4 set of void rifts that have spawned over here. So there is a move on here, a tactical jump that allows the Hercules to get vision of this void rift. This side is going to be handled by Dehaka. And on this side, we have another Hercules that is getting vision as well. And this is usually at this point where Swann will probably want to have a few hurt with siege tanks, because you can see that the drill does end up clearing, but there are a lot of units that have spawned from that void rift, and that is why it's usually better to just have a few siege tanks in there and not wait for your drill to end up clearing. But the static defenses will be able to clean up these units without too many issues. And I think Swann now has gotten his fire suppression system upgrade, which is really important. He's gotten the building armor, he's gotten the high sec power tracking upgrade as well, which is going to provide the turrets with a bunch of range, which again is going to be very useful. There's only one more. I think it's the KMC auto reloaders upgrade, which provides the turrets with the attack speed upgrade as well, and that is going to make them very, very well fortified in handling the spawns from these void rifts. Both commanders are actually interestingly one basing on this mission. Now we have the next set of void rifts that have spawned. This guy is in position, so it is not terrible. Over here, Dehaka uses a primal worm, and over here as well, Dehaka will use a primal worm to end up clearing out this void rift. Again, there's no A-click onto this thing. Okay, now there's an A-click, ends up picking off that void rift. On here, this primal worm might actually be able to burrow over and end up clearing out this as well. But he can move forward just a little bit, uses the green beam of doom upgrade. Unfortunately, doesn't get it picked up, but the laser drill also, with the help of the Hercules vision, doesn't end up picking off that void rift. And now this is the next spawn of the ship over here. And now, as you can see, the commanders are actually delaying it. The ship will force launch at 12 minutes. I think these commanders want to try and delay it as much as possible while they get their economy set up over here, because there are going to be there's going to be a lot of harass. And you can see Swann is already building up some more static defense here. He is repairing his. Oh no, he's actually put his factory down here to block the baneling spawn, or the volatile infested spawn. This SCV is spazzing out over here as well because it's trying to move out. He's like, no, I don't want to be trapped in here. I am going to get murdered by the banelings. I do not want that to happen. And unfortunately, this is the sacrificial SCV. I don't know whether he will ever be saved. We could keep an eye out on Bob the SCV over here, because he might end up undergoing a very gruesome death as the volatile infested start to spawn, and this will be blocked by this factory. So we have a bunch of Mutalists now for Dehaka, which is okay. The Mutalist will help deal with the air units that will be attacking. So this is basically the Banshees and potentially the Tuna Fish hybrids. But one of the issues here, there is just a last-minute launch here to prevent the 3-minute timer from occurring for the ship. So this will actually make the attack waves line up properly and make it a little bit easier to handle the rest of the mission. Dehaka is over here farming right now. I think for the most part he should be okay. The one issue that might happen is the Banshees that will be spawning, but there are also some missile turrets over here. We can see that we have the KMC autoloaders upgrade, which is the attack speed upgrade that has also been researched for Swann. Dehaka is just going for mass Mutalist right now, which is okay. Having a few Guardians, it might also help a little bit in dealing with these units, but Dehaka is very busy in clearing out these void rifts as well. There's another void rift over here getting vision from the drill. There's one last void rift that needs to be picked off over here, and again, drill will get vision and will end up deleting this void rift. The only thing that is left is this one last void rift on here, and it is aggroed by Blightbringer right now, and no focus down on here. But there is now, Dehaka does use a primal worm to clear out that void rift, and that void rift has been cleared with now. That's actually interesting. I actually thought, okay, the SCV did end up dying, so press F to pay respects in chat for this SCV that ended up dying. But interestingly enough, these guys don't actually detonate on the factory. I was not aware of that. I thought they would have actually attacked this factory there. But there you go. This is how you can cheese the mission as Darren. So these guys have now unburrowed, so all is okay. And I think this Banshee as well will also end up getting picked off. That is from the attack wave, that is not an infested Banshee. And now we have the next set of Void Rifts that have spawned. So over here, Void Rift gets taken care of by a bunch of static defense, by the combat drop, and the Void Rift that was on the other side that I had just pointed out had been taken care of by the drill. And now on this side, there are a bunch of Mutalisks here that are going to move into intercept. Where is the rest of Dehaka's Mutalisks? Dehaka's Mutalisks are still sitting on this side, that's okay. And now, this next ship is going to get ready for launch. I don't think they're going to go and deal with Blightbringer. Blightbringer is a little bit annoying to deal with. And again, there are a bunch of siege tanks again. And I think for the most part, this area has been cleared. Actually, the commanders could theoretically take the expansion if they put some static defense on this side. I think that might also be a viable thing. The thing is, you're already at the 15-minute mark. I think a command center or a primary structure pays its worth back only after 13 or 14 minutes, I think, after they are constructed. So even if they were to build their command centers right now, they're not really going to get the value back, so it might as well just be better to one base. And this is one of the important things to take into consideration when you are doing build orders, when you are playing mutations. You know, you can take an expansion at 20 minutes, but if the game is going to last 25 minutes, then you're not really going to get your value back, because you have to consider not only the initial cost of building the primary structure, but also putting the workers and building the workers onto that primary structure. So the investment cost is a lot higher than a lot of people might expect. There's one Void Rift that has just sneaked itself on the edge of this map over here. On this side, I think the worm has been able to clear out that Void Rift. I think the last one is over here. There's a floated factory that is trying to go and get vision of this side. On here, a little bit of harass. You can see Swann is already pre-building a lot of his structures, and I think, yeah, this is basically a 0-unit build. Only a bunch of Hercules here to just get vision of these Void Rifts. Too late on the activation, yes. So what happens is, if you do not launch the ship before the panic time, the ship undergoes a 3-minute timer. The first 60 seconds do not spawn any infested, so the infested will not spawn during this side, and then the 2-minute timer will launch. Now, one of the problems is when you actually delay the ship to this amount of time, the attack wave timings can be a bit of a problem if you are, you know, just hanging on in the mission, because the attack wave timings will usually line up very inconveniently. So, you know, you might get attacked in your base, or a ship might start launching and another attack wave will be moved in a time where your entire army is defending a ship. And now this ship is going to be taking a little bit of damage to the aberrations, which is again somewhat unfortunate, but the ship seems to be okay. Dehaka now is in position here to tank. I think he should be okay, and should theoretically be able to hold us for another 90 seconds, but there is a lot of damage output from that aberration over here. The aberrations are the things that deal the damage. And over here now we have a multi-ship launch, and Swann structures are going to be able to hold without too many issues here. And over here Dehaka is going to have a few problems because there are a lot of Banshees, and because the Mutalisks are air units, they cannot actually end up attacking here. This is usually one of the times where I like to add a few roaches just to soak up a little bit of damage. One of the problems with Dehaka is even if you have a very effective air army, the units here that are solely ground units will end up focusing the ship, and it does cause the ship to take unusually large amounts of damage, especially in the later stages of the game. Over here, Swann's defense has been completely wiped by the aberrations, but that ship has launched, and I think this ship is also fine. And now we have the next attack wave that's come up. So, I was talking about the panic launch timing. Because 2 ships were launched at the same time, the commanders are actually back on schedule, and they will be able to deal with this next ship, I think, together. I think this is their last ship, I believe, yeah. So the completion is 4 out of 5. This is the last ship now that is needed. There's a few more harass down here. But again, Swann has enough static defenses to be able to deal with this, because the Void Rifts have also been spawned. And I think that Infestor is spazzing out a little bit. And now there's just a focus down onto that Void Rift. And again, these units are just trying to take out the vision of the factory. Unfortunately, the Void Rift does not get picked off. Void Rift spawns here, taken up by structures. Void Rift spawns here, taken up by structures. There is a Void Rift on this side and a Void Rift on this side. This Void Rift will get vision of the laser drill, and that will be cleared off. Dehaka has Deep Tunnel across here to deal with this Void Rift. And on here, Swann is building up a bunch of static defense with a bunch of SCVs that are being moved and ferried across from his main base to try and deal with this next. So this mission is actually really difficult to cast. It's really hectic. There's so many things going on, especially because the commanders are playing independently of each other. They're doing their own thing, getting the trying to figure out what each commander is doing at a particular time is really, really difficult. But yeah, factory over here, and over here on this side we have Dehaka's Primal Worm. Take out that Void Rift. So I think I might have missed even two. Now I just realized I might have missed 2 Void Rift spawns from when these 2 ships were being launched together. And we have a bunch of Mutalisks that are trapped in the temporal field. Launch. Indeed, I think might be. I think Swann just needs to build some more of the structures, but he's okay. He's good to launch. This is the last ship. We have now another Void Rift that has spawned conveniently next to these structures over here. Dehaka's Mutalisks get vision of the other Void Rift. 1 Void Rift gets cleared. I don't know where that other Void Rift was, and this last one is being picked up by the Grill Primal Worm. And now we have 2 minutes to ship launch, and I think this is pretty much the end of the game because there are a lot of good static defense that has been set up, and these Banshees are not really going to last against the missile turrets that are there for Swann. Now, notice how the positioning of the static defenses. You have the Flaming Betties on the front line. That one is to deal with the large number of infested units that are spawning. The volatile infested and the infested Marines and the infested Terrans. And you have the blaster abilities at the back to take care of these high damage, the high HP units, the hybrids, the aberrations, and then on these corners here you have these missile turrets as well. So just thinking about your positioning for your static defense and just not spamming any kind of static defense, that also makes a huge difference when it comes to damage output and effectiveness of the kind of defenses that you will be implementing over here. It's not the Void Rift that has spawned here, but I don't really think it's too big of a deal. This thing can go down now. So that Void Rift gets picked off, and these Void Rifts as well. But you can see Swann's still on the ball, picking off the Void Rifts 1 by 1. But again, no too big deal. It's not really a big deal because there are only 30 seconds left on the ship timer. And Dehaka as well, frolicking amongst the Banshees with a bunch of Murbar over here. Godzilla mode, indeed. Dehaka is in Godzilla mode right now, and nothing can stop Godzilla. And yeah, we just have a bunch of stuff over here. This will also get picked off as the last ship launched, and all the miners have been saved, and everyone is happy, and all the Void Rifts have been cleared, and that is GG.